Welcome to the Tradies In Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Morning, Coxie.
Good morning, Warwick.
We're still mastering the technology, aren't we, Coxie?
You're doing something fancy. It's just doing my head in.
Well, because of this new way of doing stuff, we're... Actually, no, it's because I pissed off to Tasmania. That's why we're having to do it this way.
But the same
Let's
thing
be honest.
goes. We're still trying to adapt and evolve in our business like everybody else is,
Yeah. Yeah.
regardless of the reason.
I've had some interesting conversations with people, not least of which my poor wife, who really deserves a medal for sitting on the couch and smiling at me sweetly at nights while I expound about technology and business adaptation and the meaning of life and stuff.
Oh, poor Amy.
She even cooked me breakfast this morning.
Oh, you've been very spoilt.
I know. It was wonderful. I got fed before the horse.
So you're right up there in terms of pecking order.
G'day, listeners. How are you going? Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast, the Tradie Rona Cast special edition series limited run.
Let's
thing.
hope it's limited.
Yeah. I don't know if we can keep up daily episodes for the next 9 months, Coxie.
It's not going to go on that long, I'm sure of it. I'm being overly confident.
Is that your nightly prayer?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Please, God, Great Spirit, Universe, whoever you are out there, for goodness sakes.
I tell you, I've never wanted to leave my house quite so much.
Mm,
And I'm a homebody.
I know. Have you left your house for anything in the last 10 days?
Only groceries.
Lucky you.
I haven't enjoyed it, I must say. The second I get out there, I feel filthy. I don't want to be in public. I want to get home. But I miss, well, I don't know. It's that time of the year we do a lot of bushwalking or tramping for our New Zealand listeners.
Yes.
Because the weather's perfect. We can't do that this year. No beach trips, no camping freeze.
I know.
But I'm safe and well.
Yeah. It's a good mantra, but I don't know if it really helps all the time.
Some days are better than others.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm struggling. Well, we literally haven't left the property. We've stepped outside the house, but we're blessed to live on acreage now that we're down here in Taswegia. So we can go for a wander around the back paddock and talk to the horse and stuff. But we're not allowed off the property for anything. So we haven't left our boundaries for any reason. And it's wearing a bit thin, I can tell you.
Can I check? Is the horse talking back?
I swear he called me a name the other day when I walked off.
Okay, it's time. We need to stage an intervention.
Yeah. If I look out the dining room window and I see my wife deep in conversation, waving her arms around, talking to the horse, I know it's time to leave for urgent medical attention.
Oh gosh,
Which is ironic
it's
because
challenging.
She worked in mental health for 4 years. So, yeah, it is really tough. And as another one of our unplanned Tradie Daily Rona casts, I'm going to blindside you potentially here, Coxie.
As you do.
Are you ready to be blindsided by a
Let's
bus? The 823 bus from Launceston.
It's got a way to travel.
Yeah. I seriously almost sent you a message this morning and said, "Hey, not up to it. Can we postpone our recording?"
Just feeling flat?
Yeah. I was sitting at my dining table, had my breakfast, had my first cup of coffee, waved to the horse, was feeling pretty good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But just I thought about the prospect of doing this and some of the sessions we've got booked and we've got meetings and excuse me, I looked at my calendar for the day and I thought, there's some really cool stuff in there and I just can't be fucked doing any of it.
So that's really unusual for you. I mean, we all have times where we feel a bit, can't be bothered, but it's really unusual for you when we have a busy day stacked with lots of exciting meetings, lots of great clients, for you to feel, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Wifey and I had a chat about this last night because I guess being in our positions, Coxie, although we joke about not preparing for these podcast listeners, we do think about it. We have you and I might have a 5 or 10 minute chat, Coxie, about what we're doing and what we want to communicate. And that's why I said, I'm going to blindside you here because I didn't tell you that I was going to say that or that was necessarily going to be part of the conversation. But I think it's important that our listeners know that you and I are fallible and human and we have shit days too.
Of course.
And I'll speak for myself here. I get that quite a bit. I think because I do have an ability to go, okay, well, that was a little flat moment at the dining table and I'm about to jump on a podcast and people need me to be positive and insightful and to create great content and deliver awesome coaching sessions. And, there's all these people that depend on me and rely on me to be a certain way. So I go and do that.
But how does that leave you feeling? When you get to the end of the day and you've been upbeat and you push yourself to be something that you weren't necessarily feeling in that time, how does that leave you feeling at the end of the day?
Knackered.
Yeah.
Like absolutely like a Chuck's rag that's been wrung out. Just empty.
Yep. That's the answer I was looking for.
So, does that paint a pretty accurate picture?
It really does. I totally understand that feeling. It's something that you and I have discussed before. I think everybody feels that way at a time, but we don't necessarily talk about it. It is exhausting dealing with the stuff that's happening at the moment. The consistency of change, trying to be upbeat and be a leader for your staff or your team members or your family, or in our case, our group members or our listeners. It is exhausting trying to be upbeat, push yourself out of your comfort zone to be something you might not necessarily be feeling in that moment, to try and lead your way through this adversity. But we forget to, to acknowledge that we all have shit days or periods of time that feel like shit. And it's okay to say so.
And I feel like there's a lot of conversation about that. There's a lot of memes and axioms that say, everyone has bad days and all that sort of stuff. But I do the same thing with our mentors and leaders. And even some of my friends who I look up to, I somehow forget, or maybe I don't want to believe that they have down days as well.
Yes, good point.
And I wonder what's in that. For me, perhaps it's because it's like a bit of a double-edged sword. If I acknowledge the fact that the people I look up to and look to for inspiration have bad days, and if they have a bad day on the day that I'm having a bad day and we're both having a bad day on the same day, holy shit, what do I do now?
Because you're looking for that leadership.
Yeah. So if I pretend that they don't have bad days, then I can always look to them for inspiration or motivation or whatever it might be.
Totally understand.
But the flip side of that is I like to know that my mentors are fallible, that they have shitty days or that they struggle with things, because for me personally, that makes them real and relatable. And I know we've had feedback from listeners and followers over the years Feels like 10 years you and I have been doing this, Coxie.
That's not a great
way
compliment
back in
for our relationship.
1975? Yeah. Oh my gosh, this feels like forever. But even with you and I, when I sense perhaps you're not flying on all 10 jet engines on a day, I feel a bit like, it just creates that little moment of doubt or apprehension. But I think it's really important that we all accept that everybody has those. And I wanted to share with our listeners the fact that I have actually, I find this hard to say, Coxie. I've been doing it a bit tough this past couple of weeks.
You've had a lot going on. Just a bit.
I sat down because, the reason I don't like saying it is because it feels a bit like victimhood to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I language a tough day, or if I'm feeling a bit down, or if I make a list of all the things that my wife and I have overcome in the last couple of weeks, I feel like a bit of a whinger.
I understand.
And I don't want to be a whinger.
But is it not okay to acknowledge where you've been, where you are now, and where you're heading? Wouldn't you tell a client that that's okay?
Oh, I tell other people what to do, but I don't necessarily follow that myself.
Of course not.
But you're absolutely right. It's important to acknowledge that stuff. But how do you strike the balance between acknowledging, hey, I've jumped a fair few hurdles in the last couple of weeks. It's probably going to sap my energy. Even just doing these daily podcasts it sounded like a great idea at the time, Coxie, but I think you should really take responsibility for the fact that this is a whole lot of work.
Gee, thanks, Woz.
But it's, I don't know, I find it really hard to strike that balance between acknowledging, hey, I'm doing it tough. I've been under a lot of pressure. I'm not always going to feel up. And sort of whinging and complaining and being a bit of a victim.
Okay, so if you want my children, this is what I'd say to you. Because this is obviously a conversation I have with my kids fairly frequently in one form or another.
Well, they're all teenagers and young adults, so...
Well, they're all, it's me. Isn't that part of being a teenager? The whole world is against you. Henny penny,
yes.
Henny penny. But my point would be, it's okay to feel like shit. It's okay to acknowledge and sit with and even whinge for a period of time about what you've been through or how you're feeling or how you're not feeling. But the key to that is finding the next positive to move to. So you're not sitting in that space of sadness or stress or pressure for a longer period of time. So I actually encourage the kids to give them themselves a period of time where they know it's okay and it's safe to be talking negatively about where they're at. But after that period of time, we need to start to look towards whatever the next positive is. So in your case, it might be how many days until you're out of isolation,
quarantine.
or it might be how long until you can go out and talk to Mr. Horse, or how long until you can sit down, have lunch or your dinner with your beautiful wife. Just some positive to pull you out of that acknowledgement of how crappy you're feeling right now, which is a really normal feeling. But I think there's also a lot of pressure not to feel that way or to quickly move through that rather than being okay with sitting with those feelings and that recognition for a period of time.
That's right. And that's a key point that you make is the speed at which we need to bounce back, perhaps, from that. Because if I wake up and I'm not feeling the love and I look at my calendar and it's stacked for the day, I think, holy crap, I've got 40 minutes to get in the right headspace.
That's a lot of pressure.
And I think where some people, and I'll speak for myself, and I'll be keen to hear what you've got to say on this point, Coxie.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the people around me over the years have just gotten so used to the fact that I'm up and I'm on that they forget that there's plenty of times where I'm down and I'm off.
Yeah, of course.
But they don't see that because it doesn't last very long. I've done a lot of work over the years on turning that around quite quickly, partly out of fear of being that way in the first place, which I recognise is pretty shit.
Mm.
But also, I have this massive feeling of responsibility towards the people who are listening to this podcast, because they need us, they need our content, or maybe they want it. Actually, just let us know, listeners, do you actually want this? But there's people out there that I feel depend on me and that I deliver a service and value to, whether it's through the podcast here or our one-on-one tradiepreneur clients. Like, there's a level of responsibility I feel in that, and I get that I probably create that myself.
Yes.
I definitely do. But that really drives me to go, okay, snap out of it, was time to pull on the pants and get out of the funk. So it just happens pretty quickly.
My question to you would be, do you then reflect on those feelings again at the end of the day and the next day and the next day, because you haven't given yourself enough time to sit in that funk?
Yeah, and I think that's what's happened in the last couple of weeks, because wifey and I have been so ridiculously hustled and stressed, to use the S word, with a very short notice interstate move in the middle of a pandemic, with border controls and animals being shipped, and trying to organise rental properties virtually because of all the lockdowns, and then going straight into 14 days of quarantine where we're literally not allowed to leave the property, and having to sort out all these tech issues so we can continue to run our business and deliver our podcast. It's all taken a bit of a toll.
Of course.
But I don't acknowledge that aspect of it. So, yeah, just I guess I just wanted to share that, Coxie. And my beautiful wife made the point to me last night, because I was sitting on the couch pondering the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. After finishing, which was a brilliant book, Mark Manson's book, Everything is Fucked.
It is a good book.
It's a bit of a noodle baker, but I found it very thought-provoking. And, she made the same comment to me about, well, why do I always need to be up and positive and switched on? Because that's not reality. And we have been through a lot in the last couple of weeks. And why am I so afraid of actually showing that to people?
I don't know. It's a good point. I don't mind putting my hand up saying I feel like shit. But I also understand the pressure of the responsibility we place on ourselves to be there, supportive, upbeat, and positive, overwhelmingly positive for our clients, for our members, our listeners. So I do understand it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but in not taking enough time to sit with those feelings don't go away.
No.
And they start to become more constant or consistent in our lives. And that's when I think it starts to drag into a different state of mind, rather than just acknowledging that you've been through a bunch of stuff, you're feeling a certain way. I'm going to sit with that for a while, take a day off, take a couple of days off, talk about it with somebody, and then move forward.
Yeah, you've summed it up nicely. I think for a lot of people, the stuff that's going on at the moment with our change of life, our way of life has changed, and there'll be some things that change back. I think largely we'll be continuing with a lot of these things for quite some time. And I think that is taking a toll on a lot of our listeners, on a lot of our members. And I don't know if they're actually acknowledging that enough and giving themselves enough space or credit for the burden that creates. And then you're still running a business, and you've got Coxie and me telling you've got to adapt and sidestep and pivot and be positive for your staff, and then you've got to navigate all this government stuff if you want to access the subsidies, or look to get your loans frozen for 6 months with the bank and then figure out what capitalisation of interest means, and you got 3 screaming kids at home and you're trying to teach them stuff and you're worried that their education's going to be affected, and holy fuck.
It's huge.
It's a lot for a human being to actually navigate and still find moments of joy and still be happy and enjoy life and be grateful and feel good.
Absolutely.
So I guess in some ways, Coxie, I just wanted to say hey to all of our listeners. We get it. I've struggled with some stuff. Like, I came to Tasmania partly so I could co-parent my daughter, my 8.5-year-old daughter, and now with all these changes, that gets a little more tricky. But also, her mother's struggling with work, and so I'm not necessarily going to see my daughter as much as I thought. And it's kind of like, I ran the marathon. I got to where the finish line was supposed to be, and I was going to get the finisher's medal hung over my neck. And I got there, and they'd packed everything up, and they said, "Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, we cancelled the race, and there's no medals, there's no certificates. You're not going to get classified as a finisher."
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's like the rewards have been removed.
Yes.
But we still all expended the effort, and I think a lot of people, and I'd be keen to get some feedback from our listeners. I wonder if people are feeling the same way. It's like they've put all this work and effort in, and now all of a sudden it's like, holy shit. Well, where's the rewards? So I just wanted to say, hey, I feel it too, and I think it's healthy to talk about it on a podcast that goes out to thousands of listeners around the entire country.
I think it's important to acknowledge how we're feeling, and in sharing, we give others permission to do the same, which is a positive.
Yeah,
because we're all feeling a bit lost, overwhelmed, exhausted, maybe a little depressed, maybe a little or a bunch stressed. But, these feelings are all very natural, especially when we consider what we're all going through presently. It's important to share. So thank you for doing so.
So you're welcome, Coxie. So how about you, Coxie? Like, I know you've talked a bit about it in the last 20 minutes in this little exchange, but what are you also seeing with the people around you, either close or sort of just inner circle type people?
A lot of frustration, a lot of loss, sadness, grief, a lot of fear. And they're all pretty normal feelings considering what they've all been through or we're all going through. I am seeing a steadying that you and I spoke about last week. We knew would come, but it's come quicker than I would have anticipated. I'm seeing people adjust to a new way of life, but a lot of confusion about what that actually is. There's so many variables or different ways to interpret what's happening. So there's still a lot of confusion, but it is starting to settle. I don't know. People are very overwhelmed.
Yeah. It is a lot to process, isn't it?
It's huge. And we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or a week's time.
Yeah. So not only has there been a lot of change, but there's continued uncertainty about what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah. How long is this going to go for? What will it look like in another 6 months? It's a lot.
So, to keep these a little shorter, although this is Tuesday, and I've already dropped the F-bomb a couple times, so, these aren't Fuck It Fridays. We're doing these daily to keep in touch with you listeners. I think, people need more support. They need more opportunities for conversation, and I've been loving some of the private messages that I've even been getting. Coxie, I got one a couple last night from listeners. I honestly don't mind if you want to stalk me on the Book of Lies and hit me up just to check in. It's been wonderful to see the increase in the number of people who are willing to do that.
This has created a very positive change in that way. I see a lot of people reaching out, whereas previously they may have been too nervous to or uncomfortable to share or not comfortable with sitting in vulnerability. I'm seeing a lot more sharing, a lot more organic, authentic conversations rather than, I guess, trying to do what you and I probably do far too often, which is continue to be upbeat, positive, find the good. It's okay to have those conversations where you're sharing, actually, I don't feel real great.
Yeah.
Today
Shit
was a hard day.
Captain's log. Where's Mel? Captain's log. Today is a shit day. Number 3 in a row.
And sometimes it's like that, and that's okay.
And I'm going to own that.
I am going to own that.
I'm going to make this shit day my bitch. So yeah, the daily podcast thing, if you're liking this, let us know. We have had some positive feedback about it, so thank you for that. If you've got, and again, Coxie, I'll take some liberties here. If you have something you'd like to share on the podcast, hit us up, and if you think you would like to appear on the pod as a guest, give us a yell. We want to have a chat to you. If you've got a secret weapon against shit days, or maybe you've just had some really shit days and you think that sharing them might help some others.
Absolutely.
Hit us up. We're always keen for guests. We've got a couple lined up for the near future in our next recording sessions. But we just want to get more conversations going, I suppose. Well, I do. I shouldn't speak for you, Coxie. That's a bit what is it? Impolite?
That's okay.
Chauvinistic? Yeah.
It's quite okay for you.
Misogynistic?
No, I wouldn't go that far.
So, hit us up if you've got something you want to chat about. Give us a yell. I had a great conversation with someone last night who, one of our trade desk members, just wrapping their head around, how to access everything and sort of what's next. So that was awesome. And if you don't know, if you haven't been paying attention, pay attention, son. The Trade Desk, which is our $49 a month membership community. So there's a ton of resources and stuff there. There's how-to videos, there's templates, there's scripts, there is so much stuff in there. I've lost track of how much stuff there is. There's weekly group coaching calls. There's a private community where you can chat to your peers. We used to charge $49 a month for that. And what we've done to, again, try and offer some more support to you, we've made it free for the time being. Did we put an end date on that, Coxie?
No.
or is it like everything else? It's like, well, until further notice, you're not allowed to go fishing.
We're just going to roll with it for a while.
So get in there until we change our minds and realise that we're going to go broke, giving away our shit for free forever. But we have made it free. We really want you to get in there and get some support and become part of the community and try it out and grab some things that might help you over the next couple of months. So there is a code. If you go to tradiesinbusiness.com.au/trade desk, and you'll see a spot where it asks for a coupon. If you have a coupon code, tell it that you've got the coupon Tradies for Tradies. That's the number 4, Tradies for Tradies. It needs to be in all capitals as well. And you'll get it for free for your first month. And rather than stitch you up and ping your credit card for $49 on day 32, we'll actually send you a reminder 7 days out to let you know that that's going to happen. And if you don't want to stick around, you can't afford the $50 or whatever your excuse is, then you can cancel before we actually stitch you up for $49. So get in there and grab that free access. There's some fantastic stuff in there. We're doing more and more each week to
Can we
support
talk
our
about
Trade Desk
what
members.
we're doing?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. What the fuck is the Trade Desk, was?
So while we're in the throes of what's happening at the moment, we're actually stepping up how much support we're offering. So almost on a daily basis, you will get access to Warwick and myself, or Warwick or myself. So, for example, on a Monday, we're starting off the week right. We're going to host a toolbox talk. It was really successful this week. We got some awesome feedback, got some people thinking clearly, finding direction and moving forward right from Monday morning. Tuesday morning, so any minute now, about 10 o'clock, I'm going to have a cuppa. And you can come and join me. We'll have a gym wag. We don't have to talk about work. We can talk about kids. We can talk about wives, husbands, clients, whatever you like. We're going to have a big old chat. Wednesday afternoons, we are continuing currently with our webinar series to help you get through this process. So we're tooling you up. Once that's done, it'll be a weekly coaching call. So we'll coach you on either a specific subject, or you'll come to us with questions and we'll answer those and coach you through the process. Thursdays, we have a little bit of a day off. I call it a day off, but we're hanging out in the group anyway. And then Fridays, we're getting a bit cash. We're going to have a few
We're
drinks
getting on the
a
gas.
Friday afternoon. We are. 4:30
Which I
Friday
never do,
afternoons.
so it's weird drinking
It was
whiskey
weird.
at 4:30 on Friday afternoon.
All the time we've worked together, we've never shared a drink together till last Friday. But Friday afternoons, 4:30, we're having a beer or a wine or a coffee or a tea, whatever tickles your fancy. We're just going to hang out. We had some great chats last week and a lot of laughs, which is something we all need because we're missing those connections. So there you are. Almost every day we're hanging out in there, having a chat, helping you.
I don't know if people are excited about that or freaking out. It's like, oh my gosh, these two every day.
You don't have to tune in.
It'll take your mind off things, that'll be for sure.
I know, and you can come and lay hate on us. We're broad shoulders.
Yes.
Be fine. We'll cope.
I'm about to start training again in my garage, so I'll broaden my shoulders up a bit. But yes, we are doing a ton of stuff to, I guess, provide you with opportunities for you to access support and encouragement and ideas and everything the best way that suits you. So,
Yes.
as I said, it's free. Tradies for Tradies is the code. Go and get in there. It's risk-free. You've heard us on the podcast. You know we're just a pair of dickheads that love to talk with tradies and help them out. So, and I got to say, Coxie, just by way of wrapping up this very long daily Tradie Rona Cast,
Yes.
is I feel much better after vomiting into the microphone about my shit days.
Good. Because a problem shared is a problem halved, right?
That's what they say. So if you share it with thousands of people, does that like turn it into thousands?
It's gone.
It's so
Dissipated.
small that it just blows away in the wind.
Correct.
It's interesting, isn't it? What if because we've got nearly 1,600 members in our private tradie community, our tradie business owner community. Imagine if everybody got in there and shared some of their struggles. I wonder if they'd feel infinitely better because of the thousands of people they shared it with.
Because every person you share it with is likely to validate your feelings.
Mm. And easy for us to sit there and go, dude, you're not alone. Like we've heard that story 7 times this week.
Yes.
But yeah, I do feel better. And thank you, Coxie, for listening.
Always.
And I want to say thank you to our listeners. Thank you to you for continuing to support the podcast, for being a part of our community, however that is. I really value our connections to you, our listeners, our tradies in business, and this really does give me a lot of purpose and meaning in a time where things are very uncertain. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. You got all touchy-feely.
Can we hug now?
Yep, but
Damn
I
it.
can't reach you.
We can't hug. I want to hug somebody. I'm going to have to go hug the horse.
What about Baxter?
He leaps around too much. He's an idiot.
He's a bit
He's like to
flippity-gibbet.
headbutt me and split my lip open. That wouldn't be the first time. Look, thanks, listeners. Thanks, Coxie. And tune in again tomorrow because we are bringing you the Tradie Rona Cast every day.
You
Lucky
lucky
you.
things.
Until tomorrow.
Bye.
Hooroo.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.